Right now, filmmakers are in Hampton Roads shooting a new movie, raising awareness about the opioid epidemic.
It's called Jacqueline and Jilly. It follows the story of an African-American family whose daughter becomes addicted to the opioids while recovering from an injury. 13
News Now reporter Nico Clemens went to the shoot to find out why the topic is important to them.
Action!
Hollywood comes to Hampton Roads. Superstar and local talent are here in Newport News, shooting a film that raises awareness about an issue plaguing this country, the opioid addiction. The movie is called Jacqueline and Jilly, a film by Victoria Rowell. You may know her from her roles in Dumb and Dumber, Eve's Bayou, and the television series Diagnosis Murder.
We all should care.
The movie is about an African-American family, a husband and a wife, and their daughter, who is on track to be an Olympic equestrian. The daughter falls off her horse one day and accidentally becomes addicted to pain medicine.
This is an upper-class black family in this movie that is in denial, and they have to come out of denial to come to the healing.
According to the World Health Organization, 2 million people in the United States are addicted to prescription opioids.
We have to begin to talk about addiction, and especially in our community.
Also starring in the movie is Daphne Maxwell-Reid, best known for her role as Aunt Viv in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Also in the film, Richard Brooks. You've seen him on Law & Order and Being Mary Jane.
It doesn't matter what your economic status is, it can just affect you, and we normally don't discover it until it's too late.
The film is expected to be out in the fall on the streaming service Urban Movie Channel. Rao hopes her movie helps those who are struggling.
It's been a remarkable opportunity to use entertainment as an awareness mechanism about opioid addiction.